Get started.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us here today. We are here on behalf of PwC, or also PricewaterhouseCooper, to help explain a little bit about cybersecurity and sort of give you that 101 knowledge about day-to-day life in cybersecurity and some useful tips on how you can protect yourself. So to start things off, we're going to go over what cybersecurity is, who is preventing who are some of the threat actors and how you can protect yourselves, as well as go over some industry terms and overall tips for personal security. A little bit about ourselves. My name is Josh Schwartz. I'm here I'm a senior associate with PwC in the cybersecurity, privacy, and forensics practice. I've been with the firm for about 3 years now, but I also started off where you guys are now with First back in high school when I was a member of the Circuit Runners, Team 1002. And since then, I've been involved with First, helping out with Athens Academy back in college, helping them build out the Athens FLL program and hosting a lot of First robotics events in college, and I've continued to this day. And then now in working with PwC, I've helped sort of build this relationship that PwC has with Georgia First. We've helped contribute to a lot of different events, as well as we are a proud sponsor of the Booker T. Washington FRC team as well. So looking forward to another great season with them and working with them as well. And that's me in a nutshell. I'm going to let Nikita introduce herself and continue on.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. So this is Nikita Jain, and I'm a part of the cybersecurity, privacy, and forensics team. We are in the same team, and I am based out of Atlanta. And so cybersecurity is a broad field, and under cybersecurity, Josh and I focus on cybersecurity risk and compliance type of projects. And we'll discuss more about the different fields and the different terminologies and what it all means in a short while. So moving on, Josh, thanks. So let's get started. So this is to show the importance of cybersecurity. So an attacker succeeds this one time and calls it a win, and a company might fail just once and call it a failure. So this is to show how important it is to be vigilant, to be able to protect your most important assets. If a company fails to protect its most critical information assets, it not only loses its reputation, there are financial impacts, there can be operational impacts, and it can overall be very devastating for them. So moving on, let's talk about what is cybersecurity. So a definition from Economic Times is here on the slide. But in simpler terms, cybersecurity is the practice of protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. These are the three most important aspects of cybersecurity, and we'll discuss them in detail in some time. Also, something to note is that cybersecurity is a broad field and comprises of more focused areas, such as you can see on the screen. We have asset security, network security, operational security, application security. So let me explain a little bit about each. So asset security is about monitoring and securing your assets. Network security is about practices which are adopted to prevent and to monitor any type of unauthorized access to the computer network. Operational security is the practice of actively looking and being vigilant, actively looking at the threats in an environment and trying to protect the organization against such threats. Application security is about the measures which are taken to protect the security of a software application. It can be any types of applications, and governance and compliance, where we focus on is where we help our clients build strategy for managing their overall governance, which might include having cybersecurity committees, having cybersecurity policies and procedures in place, so that they're able to govern their cybersecurity risks, and also able to meet compliance requirements which are put in by the government. Access control is the practice of controlling access to assets which are important. Risk management is about managing cybersecurity risks. And disaster recovery, so this is the and this is interesting, and this is the practice of ensuring that the continuity of information assets is maintained, and if any disruptions happen, trying to get systems back up and running in as little time as possible so that operations can continue seamlessly. So this was a sneak peek into what cybersecurity has to offer. Now talking about why we need cybersecurity, and this gives us a lot of industry examples of the breach which have happened in the past 2 or 3 years, and you might have heard about some of them. There was a breach at DoorDash, which is the food delivery app, and this breach affected about 5 million records, which included things like customer information, driver information, debit card and credit card numbers. So this was pretty huge for them, and they got a lot of negative media attention because of this. There was the Facebook breach, which got a lot of media attention, as well as the number of users that were involved in this breach was huge. It was about 30 million, and contact details of users were compromised, such as names, phone numbers, email addresses, and the places where those users checked in. So this was all information which was supposed to remain private, but it was stolen and used by attackers. There are some other breaches, like the Pearson breach, where the names, email addresses, and date of birth of several students were compromised. There was the Equifax breach, which I am pretty sure you all must have heard about. It was pretty huge in the media. And most recently, there was this Twitter hack. And what happened was that Twitter accounts of a lot of famous personalities like Barack Obama, Kanye West, Elon Musk, Bill Gates. So Twitter accounts of these people were hacked, and they all posted messages to encourage their followers to send money to Bitcoin, and they promised that the money would double in some time. And it's really surprising, because Twitter is a huge organization, and although they do have cybersecurity controls and practices in place, they failed this one time, and it led to this huge hack. And it all happened due to a social engineering type of attack. And when I say social engineering, it means that what the attackers do is that they call an authorized employee, and they call them and they convince them that they belong to the same organization. So what happened with the Twitter hack was that this particular hacker, he called up a person who was an employee at Twitter, and he told them that, hey, you know what, I belong to the technology department of Twitter, and I need you to share your credentials because I need to log into this customer portal. I urgently need this information. And that poor employee made the mistake of trusting that person, and he shared his credentials with him. And that is it. That was all he needed to hack all of these accounts. So this just shows how important it is. So moving on. So, and I was talking about all these industry examples, and this slide just tries to show that cybersecurity is very important now, more important than ever. And that is only because our digital footprint is increasing every day. We have so much information available online. All of our personal information, such as our name, our phone numbers, email addresses, sometimes our date of birth. So all of that is available online. We share stories every day of where we are going, who we are visiting, and we are checking into places we are visiting. So So if somebody has to hack your account, it becomes really easy for them. And they are able to stalk you online. They're able to follow you on these social media accounts and social media websites, and they're able to obtain all the information they might need from you. And as you can see here, a lot of people, like all over the world, billions of people use social media every day. And the percentage of people amongst teens who use it is incredibly high. It's about 88% of teens in the US who use social media, which can be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it can be Snapchat, or other social media websites. And they spend about 9 hours every day on social media. So that is something to highlight, how important it has become right now to think about cybersecurity.
I'm more interested to know who the 12% of teens who are not using social media are.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to discuss the common threat actors. So we have been talking about cybersecurity, what it means and why it is important. But you must be thinking who these people are, who these attackers are, and why they are after the data, and why they are trying to do it. So we have tried to make these broad groupings of threat actors. The first is hacktivists. So these are hacker activists who are ideologically motivated, and so all they are trying to do is to push their agenda. They target victims who either are against that agenda, who believe in something else, and they try to do it in a way that that gathers media attention, and in some means or form they're able to push their agenda forward. It can be, so an example can be that they believe in climate change, and they believe there are XYZ organizations who are creating a lot of pollution, who are adding to the carbon footprint, and they don't like them, so they might do things to just make that information public, try to deface their websites, or do things which might harm those organizations or maybe groups of people. Then there are insider threat actors, and these are the most dangerous ones. And these are people who can be current or former employees, contractors, or maybe partners who are working with an organization. And I say they are really dangerous because they have direct access to an organization's information systems. So they can misuse access whenever they want to. And sometimes insiders make threats unknowingly, but a lot of times they make they make use of their access in malicious ways, because they have a motive. They are either disgruntled, maybe because they were passed over for a promotion, or maybe somebody was not nice to them, or things like that. So their motive can be revenge, it can be money. Sometimes they can unknowingly make mistakes as well. And then there are terrorist groups or organizations, and these are groups that are designated by the US Department of State. And all they're trying to do is they're trying to cause disruptions. They are trying to cause harassments to different organizations. And they try to recruit people to help them, in their motives. And then there is this broad category of cyber criminals whose number one goal is money. So they are really profit driven, and they are an all-time threat. So they target data because they want to sell it. They might want to hold it for a ransom. So ransomwares are becoming more and more common these days. What these hackers do is that they first, through a phishing email, they trick people or employees of an organization to download a malware, and then that malware is able to move laterally through their networks, and they get access to important information, and they encrypt that information. And then they blackmail you, saying that they are not going to release that information or share the key of the encryption key for that information until they get money. So that has become really common. And there was a recent attack on Honda Motors, which caused disruption due to a ransomware attack. Then there are these nation state actors, and these are the actors who target nation state governments, because they are trying to spy and they're trying to get secrets which are they're trying to get access to really sensitive information. It can be military secrets which are held by the government, or it can be something similar which might have damaging impact on the government.
And also to give some perspective, look at the two most recent hacks that we discussed earlier. You have cyber criminals, which are responsible for the Twitter hack, who are trying to just get money, or the Equifax breach, which was now being attributed to China as gaining a lot of personal information. And here they are, these million-dollar companies have to defend themselves against billion-dollar nations in some situations. And so there's multiple ways to try to prevent that, or how the larger question is, how do you consistently prevent that from happening?
Yeah, that's right. So moving on and talking about the methods which are used to acquire information. So there is phishing that I was talking about before. And believe it or not, phishing is the #1 way attackers try to get information. And what they do is they send these spoofed messages, and these messages always have a sense of urgency. So for example, during the holiday season, you might get emails which would say that, oh, your parcel was supposed to be delivered, but we want you to update your address because we missed it in our records. And you'd be asked to click on a link and provide your credentials so that you can confirm your address or update it or whatever. And they would frame the message in such a way that you'll be pushed to do it immediately. You'll be pushed to click on the link immediately, and clicking on the link might mean that a malware gets downloaded without you knowing about it. The link itself can be harmless, and they are just looking for your credentials. So they might ask for your credentials, and you might just provide them, thinking that you have to get your parcel or whatever the message is targeting it to be, and that is it. And they get access to your information just like that. And then there are scarewares. So in this case, what happens is that victims are tricked into believing that the system is infected, and you need to download this malicious software, which obviously they present it to be a legitimate software, which is to be downloaded to remove or prevent the infection from spreading, and you believe it and you download it. And that download leads to stealing information, monitoring all your activities on your computer. There is dumpster diving, and sometimes what people do is that we write sensitive pieces of information on paper and then just put it in the trash. So sometimes people might write their passwords on pieces of papers because it's hard for them to remember it, or maybe other types of sensitive information. They might just throw it in the trash, and these attackers, since they are really clever and they want to target you, they might go through your trash. They might get that sensitive information out from that trash. So, and the next is shoulder surfing. So this is really common in places like coffee shops, or if you are working while you are traveling through public transport. You are traveling to college on in MARTA, and you are just working on your laptop, and somebody is standing just behind you. You don't notice them as much, and they might be directly looking into what you are working on, what you are doing, and they might just see you type your username and passwords, and they might just get it in that way. So that's a very real threat. There is human error, which is extremely common, and people use very weak passwords, simple passwords to protect information, to get access to their email accounts or other type of accounts. It can be a password like password 123, or just your own name, or maybe just your date of birth. So, and all of these pieces of information are available online, given that we have such a huge social media presence and such a big digital footprint. So it becomes really easy for them to guess your passwords and get access to your email accounts or other accounts. And the last one is tailgating. So sometimes what attackers do is, in order to get access to physical facilities, they try to just follow right behind someone who is authorized to enter so that nobody notices them. Sometimes it can be something like they might just say that, oh, I forgot my badge. Can you help me get in? And you might think that, oh, this person seems harmless. Maybe they really forgot their badge and you'll let them in. And that is how they are able to get inside important facilities where only authorized people are supposed to enter. And something, if you can, quickly go back to, so when we talk about methods these attackers use to acquire information, something to note is that people can be really vulnerable. So we spoke about a lot of these attack techniques where attackers are getting information really easily because they are exploiting human emotions. Sometimes they are manipulating human beings. So it is really, really important to be aware, to be vigilant, to know, if you're receiving an email, you should know that, okay, before clicking on any links or before providing your credentials to anyone, you should just do a check. Maybe you are getting this particular email from a friend and who is asking for money. So just do not directly click on the link, give them a call, check if it is really them, and make sure, just try to be alert so that you do not become a target of such attacks. So talking about the CIA triad, so I discussed this briefly before, and these three are the most important aspects of cybersecurity. Confidentiality, which is trying to limit access to information to only authorized users. So, and an example which is also on the slide is, am I the only one that can access my email? Because you should be the only one who can access your email, or you should be the only one who can see your grades. Not everybody should be able to see it. So things like that. And integrity is about making sure the information is trustworthy and accurate. So are the grades which you or your parents are seeing, are those accurate? So trying to make sure that the information is not modified and it stays accurate. Availability is trying to make sure that authorized users have reliable access to information. So when you are trying to access an assignment, are you able to access it whenever you want to? Or are you at least able to access your the backup of your assignment? So being able to access that information when you need it. And when it comes to organizations, each organization might have a list of most important or critical assets which they are trying to protect. And they're trying to make sure that those assets stay confidential, that is only authorized people are able to access them. Also, the information in those assets is not altered in an unauthorized way. It stays true and trustworthy. And also, so a lot of times the information in the assets is used to run operations for an organization. If that information is not available, it might affect their operations. It might affect the continuity of an organization's operations. So in that case, availability is really important as well. So this was the CIA triad. Next, I would hand it over to Josh to take you through this exercise.
Cool. Thank you, Nikki. So moving on, let's do this little thought exercise. I want you to think about what information is out there that relates to you. Think about your Facebook profile. Have you been checking into places lately? Have you been liking a lot of groups? What have you been posting about? On your Twitter, what have you been retweeting? On your Instagram, who are you following? What are your posts about? Are they only about food? Are you talking about other stuff there? TikTok, what are you talking about? What are you like? What's around you when you are filming your videos for TikTok? It doesn't even have to be on social media. Talk about your bumper stickers when you have a car. Are you going to be that person that puts all this different signs up about their family, how many kids they have, what your likes or dislikes are, um, your phone background? Is it about you? Is it about your friends? Is it about your parents? Is it about something you like, somewhere you've been on vacation? What yard signs do you have out that replicate what you are trying to promote as an individual? And then also, what do you just have laying around on the desktop on your computer? Do you have a bunch of images laying around? Do you have a background as well that might relate to something that is used for security purposes? So all of that I was just saying, all of that is information that relates to you. All of that is information that is publicly accessible about you, depending on how much you put out there. And all of that can be used against you. Sorry to scare you that way, but like it can all be used against you depending on how you use your personal information and what information you use when developing security. So how can you keep this information safe? Well, we want to talk about, you don't want to use information that is available on those public networks. It's common for personal security questions to involve something along like, what high school did you attend? What's your mother's maiden name? What's your dog's name? And if you have that information available on Facebook, if it's public, then someone who is trying to compromise your account can just, even your bank account, your phone, they can just go on, look on your Facebook and get all the answers right there. You want to make sure that you have antivirus protection on your technology devices. The risk of an individual being specifically targeted is low, but at the same time, there's so many different ways out there when you're surfing, when you're clicking on clickbait, when you're opening your email, that it's not worth taking the chance of you as a human missing something and then opening up your system, opening up your accounts, and opening yourself up to being a victim of some form of cyber crime. It's always important to make sure you have the latest updates on your phone, on your computer, whether you have an iPhone, whether you have an Android, whether you have a Linux-based device. It's you or Windows even, Windows computer. Like all those are important because those system updates are helping fix a flaw that was in the system. Whether it was found to be a security flaw, whether it was a design flaw, it's in your benefit to update as soon as possible when those patches are released. We also talk about making sure that your passwords are strong and not used and replicated around each site. You want to make sure that you have a variety of passwords that you can use around the site, but you also want to try to find a way that you don't need to write them down and you don't and they can't be guessed from site to site. There's a lot of solutions out there that help you maintain that security, or if you can think of a system in your head to help fix those password strengths, it's highly recommended. I want to, while we're talking about passwords, another thought exercise that I want to run with you is, I bet I can guess, or at least put it in a guessable amount from a script perspective, most of your passwords that are on here. And it's fun to do this in person when I can see people's hands. But let's think about the requirements that most companies and websites have for your password. You have to have one capitalized letter. You have to have one lowercase letter. You have to have a number, and you have to have a special symbol. So, well, it just laid it out for you of what happens in the alphabet when in the English language is, I think of a word. Let's say butterfly. Well, I really like my butterfly. And since it's the only word in this password, I'm going to capitalize the B. The first letter is going to get capitalized. Then you have your lowercase because that's what happens with the rest of the word. Oh, and now you think, well, I need to have a number associated with it. Well, butterflies are number one. I always like butterflies, so I'm just going to use the number one. Now, you might have some variation. It might be one might be 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's that commonality that makes it easy to guess. And then we're missing one more thing, which is the special character. Well, I want to exclaim how much I love butterflies and how butterflies are number one. So I'm going to capitalize the B, have a lowercase butterfly, use a one, and then use an exclamation mark. And that combination is one of the most common ways that passwords are created. And it's just by how we think as humans. We're thinking of it from a language perspective and not from a security perspective. And so if there's one thing that I hope you take away from this is that thought of, is my password secure? And in changing it up a little bit, because when you think of a way that your password can get compromised is through a brute force method, in which someone just types in that scenario of ignoring the lower, like make sure that it's a word from the dictionary, making it so that the first letter is capitalized, make it so it's a word, and making it so it has 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exclamation mark. And if you can get away from that imagery, put the numbers in front, put it in the middle. If you use different words, if you don't use dictionary words, then you are more likely to have a secure password than your neighbor. And then just some other things around just security is it's always better safe to be sorry. Ignore suspicious links, emails. Don't be afraid to reach out. If it says it's from Amazon, don't reply to that email, but call Amazon and saying, I just got an email from you. Is this real? And looking at your social media account, what we just did a moments ago, think about that sensitive information that's out even to the public and try to prevent that being out there so that no one can guess what your security questions are just by looking at your car, by looking at your Facebook profile, or looking at your TikTok videos. So that was personal security. We talked to you about cybersecurity in a corporate environment. We talked to you about what the threat actors are. We talked to you about what personal security might mean to you. And now we want to talk to you about what you can do in cybersecurity. So what you see here are just the lists of different studies and different ways of thinking and how to get involved with cybersecurity and what you can do regardless of whether you are in middle school, high school, or if you're off to college. So from a college perspective, what you see here on the top is going to be a list of college majors that are most likely to have you succeed in cybersecurity. You can see a lot of different technology-based majors, computer science, management information systems, info science and technology, but you also have some more unique ones, psychology, industrial engineering, and business. Because as we've tried to demonstrate to you, cybersecurity is getting away from the technical. It definitely has a very huge technical component, but also there's the human element to cybersecurity. So you need to make sure that your company or wherever you're working for, those people are wanting to practice cybersecurity. They want to change their password every 90 days. And they don't click on that link that looks weird or funny, or they even have that mindset to begin with of, I want to think that email is suspicious. The mindsets, the skills and interests that really work well in cybersecurity is the ability to problem solve, the ability to evaluate pros and cons, ability to design. There's the technical element of hacking, but also there's other aspects around it like compliance, auditing, working with people, working with data, manipulating data to see where trends are happening. And also there's the psychology element of the human being as well. All of these you can see in what you're doing right now in FIRST Robotics, how you're problem solving to build that robot. You're designing that robot. You're evaluating what design is better than the others. And you're looking around you. When you're at the competition, you're looking at how other teams work together. You're looking at how other robots are working. You're seeing what strategy works best with you. Hopefully you're not hacking other people's robots. That I think is a big no-no. But at the same time, that element of technical mastery is still needed in order for your robot to succeed. And then what you can do now is you can get involved with a lot of these different opportunities that are listed below. There's a lot of different camps. There's a lot of leagues. there's something called a hackathon, if you're not familiar with that, in which it's sort of like a 24-hour event in which you have a team and you try to get into a system that has been made specifically for that event. And you have to record your progress going through it so that then you can show your work at the end of the day. And so all of these different organizations are there to help you and to promote cybersecurity in a different way. And then lastly, we being at PwC, of course, have a lot of different cybersecurity options for you. When you graduate college, of course. Unfortunately, we do not have a lot of positions available for middle schoolers and high schoolers at this time. But at the same time, like to put that mindset to make you start thinking about what your future might look like, what role models you might look towards, and then also like what career path exists out there. So as Nikita and as Nikita mentioned earlier, we're both in that security strategy mindset. We go to clients, both big clients that you've heard of, Fortune 500 companies, and also smaller businesses as well in the middle of nowhere like Arkansas, that we help devise their strategies in terms of how to be better, how not to be that next company that is in the news, how to comply with what the government says they have to do with their data, what other companies are asking them to do with their data. We have incident response, in which it's usually that big name when it comes to cybersecurity, in which how do you prevent, or it's incident response is you're responding to an event. Who attacked you? Why did they attack you? What did you lose? And then you also have the other side of the coin of that, which is attack and penetration, which is how can you prevent like an incident from occurring by preparing and testing your system through and through. Jumping back to identity and access management is you have this idea of like so much of the business revolves around who has access to what. And we've already talked about how humans are the weakest link in your business. So how can you make sure that only the right people have access to the information, and what type of roles and responsibilities do those people have to access that information? And then you have tool and deployment implementation and security architecture. How do you make sure that your systems are working together and working efficiently to make sure that they are all protecting what is most important to you? So with that, hopefully that gave you a overall idea of what cybersecurity is, who's out there, what personal cybersecurity steps you can take to protect yourselves and others, and what you can share to others, as well as what PwC is doing in our consulting practices to help our clients make help make a difference with our clients and protect our clients. And maybe one day you can join us as well and help make a difference there. So what we're doing now is we're going to be opening up the floor to questions. I believe that we have a few questions already asked. And let me open up. I do see one question, but it wasn't, I'm not sure if it was fully typed out or not. But if you do have any questions based off of our presentation, feel free to use the Q&A. We have our little panel opened up right now, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
While folks are formulating their questions to put in the Q&A, there's one that I've got for you.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I've heard about is that there's all of these programs that'll store your passwords for you so that you can keep them, you know, you can have a lot of variety and not have to write them down and things like that. Do you have any comments, recommendations, or thoughts about something like that?
I think Nikki and I both probably have an idea, but before that, I do want to do a disclaimer: is that when we do refer to this, we are talking from our personal experience, and PwC does not have a firm stance on that. But Nikita, I'm not sure if you have a different stance than I do, but I think that they're good. They help differentiate between passwords, and essentially you're trusting another company with this information. You and that company is sort of inheriting some of that risk involved. So you want to make sure that your password to that password manager is very secure. You don't want it to just be 1234, but you also want to put a lot of effort into that. But then making sure that other aspects of that, the way it's integrated, is also secure. But overall, I do trust them, and I do think that they're important.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would reiterate that thought. I also think that they are really helpful because and we keep telling people to not use the same passwords across different websites, especially across websites such as your bank, where they deal with your banking information or other types of financial information, so that it's not easy for attacker to just guess one password and get access to all of your accounts. So we do keep saying that, and I think a password manager really helps you manage all of the different account passwords. It really makes it easier for all of us to manage those passwords. And like Josh mentioned, it is important to set that password to be really strong for that password manager, so that it isn't easy for the attacker to get access to your password manager. And on the back end, the password manager, it sets those passwords in an automated manner, and those are really strong and secure passwords, which are very extremely difficult to crack. So I do trust them. But if you are looking out for a password manager, something to note is that do some research about password managers. We do not want to recommend anyone, but do your research on password managers, see if they have good user reviews, if it is a reliable password manager. So things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So while other people are maybe formulating questions, that reminded me of a really interesting password security thing that I've seen recently around security questions. And the idea is that you already have a preset idea of what the answer is going to be for your security questions. And so it doesn't matter what questions asked, you're going to respond the same way. And so let's just say that that it automatically fills in what's your high school mascot. Well, you're always going to answer it saying like, the Disney villain that I least like is Pinocchio, or something like that. So it doesn't relate to the question, but at the same time, whenever you go through different possibilities, it's a long phrase, and that you'll be able to remember it in the future. Ideally, the best case scenario is you don't, if you wanted to secure yourself there, is to not use English dictionary words and use one of those password managers to also use a password for that security question. But it's a new thought that's starting to emerge in terms of how to respond with security questions.
So if I can rephrase what you just said, are you saying that when they ask me for a question that I basically give them a nonsensical answer, but one that I can remember?
Exactly, because that's meant for you to recover your account, and it limits the way that a person can find the answers using social media or another medium.
I hadn't heard that one. I like that. Does anybody out there have any questions for these two? It sounds like that they have spent some good time being addressing this. And I guess one of the questions I'm curious about, I know a good bit about cybersecurity and also about PwC, but do you guys have a group that does the white hat hacking type stuff. And this group might not know what that is too.
Sure. Yeah, so PwC does have that opportunity under our attack and penetration area. And the idea behind white hat hacking, ooh, say that 5 times fast, is that it's the idea that you are being proactive about trying to break into an application. So let's just say company ABC just created this brand new application that they really want people to use, but they don't know if it can be compromised because it deals with banking information. So they ask a group of hackers to try to break into it. Sometimes there's a reward, sometimes they're employed by another company to do whatever they can to break into the application and get what they have designated as important. And PwC does have that offering in which clients have asked us to say, they designate saying, this database or this area is our most sensitive information. And if you guys can get into there, like, we need to fix our security. And Nikita, I'm not sure if you've worked specifically with that team or not, but I've worked with them twice and they always get in. Like it's sad but true, but like I've seen it plenty of times that they've been able to just get in and show a different way of thinking that the client was not prepared to when talking about security.
Yeah, and a lot of time when that happens, so these group of people which are asked to penetrate into a network, an organization's network, they are also called ethical hackers, because all they're trying to do is to penetrate into your network to just show the weaknesses which are there and the weaknesses which the organizations should fix. Maybe they need to implement some controls or maybe they need to implement a tool in order to prevent that particular thing from happening. But they are basically trying to help you strengthen your cybersecurity.
Super. Thank you. It's good to know that.
Mm-hmm.
We've just got a few more minutes. Are there any other questions that are out there or any interests that our participants have got that they would like to ask these guys? Because if not, we can call it a wrap. All right.
Okay.
Anything you want to do to wrap up?
Well, we just wanted to thank everyone for their time. We definitely appreciate the interest in cybersecurity. We wish you the best of luck during whatever first robotics season this year looks like, as well as the future seasons as well. And if you ever have any questions, I'm going to go back to the very beginning of this deck in which you can see our emails. Don't hesitate to reach out. And we're happy to provide some insight from industry insight wherever we can. So thank you again for joining us. We definitely appreciate it, and best of luck with the rest of the symposium.
Thank you, guys. This was a great presentation. I will go ahead and end the recording.
Awesome.